All right, yes, and we have a new blog post from Arthur Hayes, and Arthur is always a great person to check in on as he shares his financial knowledge and deep knowledge of the crypto space. Obviously, as he founded and created BitMEX. So yeah, it's always exciting to see this come into my email inbox, and let's dig deep, eh? And so he's talking about stablecoins. I had a quick brief read of this. But also, I guess let's do some updates on Tether. So currently, as of June 2021, Tether has an audit and show 65% of their reserves are in commercial paper, which are bonds issued by companies, right? Basically, like debt paper instruments, right? And New York has the strictest, is the strictest state when it comes to crypto laws in the US. So, given that it is signed off on Tether's required, so it is requiring Tether to do quarterly audits. It's a good sign that 65% is acceptable to them, right? Maybe not to some people in the crypto space, but it is to the New York State and the New York AG, right? And also, you've got to keep in mind that there are also alternatives to Tether. USDC makes a great substitute if things ultimately go pear-shaped for Tether, right? So what this came about was the New York Attorney General probe into Bitfinex, which basically owns Tether and creates USDT, and basically I think they were trying to get to the bottom of $850 million of Tether that was missing. I think was all confiscated, right? Or there was a shortcoming, right? And so Tether entered the settlement, or basically went into settlement with the New York AG and paid what was it? Would you call it a fine? But basically paid up $18.5 million. And so the agreement is that Tether must now produce records every quarter. And I think it has been able to go back all the way back to 2018 to satisfy the requirements of the AG. Okay, so that's the update on Tether. Now let's dig deep into the mind of Arthur Hayes. Arthur Hayes, 8th of July 2021. All views expressed in the below are the personal views of the author and should not form the basis for making investment decisions, nor be construed as a recommendation or advice to engage in investment transactions. And let's look at his what's he got here? That's Arthur Hayes himself in some sort of crypto box NPC player. Pepe the Frog. I guess this is what he's trying to get at. I'm not too sure. It's kind of decoded, this one. But anyway, so yes, let's have a look. The height of the Northern Hemisphere summer is here, and it's a vax-enabled party time. So don't expect much in the way of volumes and or volatility, while traders get some well-earned time to spend their spoils. Yeah, so we are definitely in summer doldrums, right? Since the traders have taken much of the market intrigue with them as they frolic their way through the Mediterranean, I want to use this downtime to explore one of the space's most historical divisive topics: stablecoins, right? From Tether to Facebook to central bank digital currencies, I'll take this opportunity to riff on some of my biggest stablecoin pet peeves and thoughts on what the stablecoin future might hold. Enjoy. So title of this paragraph is the Achilles heel of crypto. Should that be a question mark? Let's find out. Or exclamation mark. When doubting the viability of the crypto capital markets, turn up some Tether FUD. I become quite irked when I read Mickey Mouse analysis that proclaims irreparable harm will visit the crypto markets should Tether break the buck. That is, it's pegged to the $1, right? To demonstrate how ridiculously shallow this argument is, follow me through a very simple thought experiment. As I write this, Tether has a circulating supply of $62.5 billion, according to CoinGecko. This is also its market cap, because each USDT is backed by a physical US dollar, supposedly. For the sake of argument, let's assume that one day Tether discloses that it had exactly 0 in physical assets, rendering each USDT worth absolutely nothing. To keep this hypothetical simple, let's assume that the crypto capital markets consist of only Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? 2 coins. What would happen to our ecosystem when all USDT holders are rugged? Okay. And you've got to remember, USDT is not a cryptocurrency. Stablecoins are not cryptocurrencies. They are just digital tokens issued on a blockchain, namely Ethereum, right? So let's take a look at Ethereum. We'll see what he has to say about ETH. So yes, USDT is a ERC20 token, which means it uses the Ethereum blockchain protocol to juke and jive. In this scenario, all USDT holders have lost everything. So what happens to the ETH protocol? Will blocks continue to be produced approximately every 10 to 15 seconds? Yes. The loss of USDT does not mean that Ethereum miners cannot complete proof of work puzzles. Ethereum mining has no USDT dependency. This means that after losing $62 billion in value, participants may still use the Ethereum blockchain. And so if that ever occurred, right, if USDT starts sliding down to 95, 90, 80 cents, right, will people just migrate their funds to ETH? That may cause ETH to pump, right? Will any other ERC20 tokens cease to work? It is possible that any ERC20 token that use the USDT as collateral underpinning its value will see a near total collapse. Boom. However, these tokens will be sold using the still functioning ETH blockchain. And again, and most importantly, the Ethereum protocol will continue work as designed. Can anyone double spend Ether? This is what a proof of work crypto currency defends against, right? You can't spend your double spend, right? Your tokens like ETH, Litecoin, Bitcoin, etc. So can anyone double spend ETH? No. Remember, the Ethereum blockchain has no USDT dependency. Therefore, a malicious actor will not be able to double spend ETH just because all USDT holders got rickety wrecked. Can projects still launch new ERC20 tokens? Yes. Again, the Ethereum blockchain continues to work just as before. Can the ETH protocol still be updated? Yes. Just because USDT no longer exists just doesn't mean smart engineers can't improve the protocol. Okay, Bitcoin. USDT started as a pseudo Bitcoin sidechain using the Omni protocol, but then migrated mostly to ERC20. What happens to the Bitcoin protocol? Will blocks continue to be produced approximately every 10 minutes? Yes. So I guess it goes through all the same questions, right? Yep. Can the people double spend Bitcoin? Nope. Can the Bitcoin protocol still be updated? Yes. This Q&A is starting to get a bit repetitive, so I'll wrap it up here. My point is that the main functions of peer-to-peer censorship-resistant propagation and validation of unique cryptographic outputs will not change in any aspect if Tether suddenly ceased to exist. Therefore, the actual network activity that gives value to Bitcoin and Ethereum would not be affected. and there wouldn't be any impact on the underlying value proposition or either the Bitcoin or the Ethereum protocol. At this point, people usually argue that such a disruptive event and massive ensuing loss would inevitably cause the price to fall and disrupt the operations of exchanges. But let's take a second to really think through what would actually happen to centralized exchanges, sexes, if USDT goes poof. Centralized exchanges use USDT to onboard fiat, which is your regular state issued money or currency, right? Without having an explicit banking partner. This is key. This is what Binance is, how Binance operates, right? It doesn't have banking relationships, really. It is also cheaper and faster to send USDT between traders than bank wires. Hell yeah. So the majority of Bitcoin and Ether to fiat pairs use USDT. Let's remove those capabilities from the equation. How would centralized exchanges react? That's a good question, right? There are other stablecoins that are similar to USDT and that they issue ERC20 tokens, ETH tokens, that they claim are backed by physical USD or USD near cash equivalents, treasury bills, notes, and bonds. Without Tether, market participants will likely turn to USDC or any of the other USD physically backed stablecoins. An exchange that no longer can use Tether can easily switch to other ERC20 stablecoins such as USDC for Bitcoin and Ether to fiat pairs, right? So that's likely not enough disruption to tank the whole industry. But for the sake of argument, let's assume that banking institutions have stopped allowing all stablecoin issuers to rent their balance sheets. That's an interesting concept, right? When these companies like Bitfinex and Circle deposit funds in a bank account they own at a bank, they're using that balance sheet, those deposits, to create the Tether, right, or the token, right? So you're kind of renting it. It's an interesting concept. And so, right, so you rent their balance sheet and issue stablecoins to the crypto capital markets. That would admittedly be seriously disruptive to centralized platforms. They either must get a bank account, very, very difficult, or remove the fiat to crypto on and off ramps from their platform. Bitcoin and Ethereum prices will likely crater, at least initially. However, the ecosystem will still have the means to withstand this doomsday scenario in the long term. Again, that's long term, right? Take, for example, MakerDAO. It's the best example of a fully reserved bank, a crypto bank, that issues its own currency, DAI, pegged 1-to-1 with the US dollar, and holds zero physical US dollars to back it. Instead, MakerDAO brings DAI into existence by accepting 150% ETH collateral, so over collateralized, right? And users, you can do this yourself, by the way, users can mint 100 DAI, but they have to stake $150 of ETH at the prevailing ETH USD exchange rate. The market, so crypto markets are actually under leveraged. You know, a lot of FUD and smear gets thrown at crypto markets are being over leveraged. High leverage is accessible, but crypto is actually under leveraged, way under leveraged compared to the old banking system, which I believe is at 25x or something like that, right? So a lot more risk in the old school system. Anyway, back to Arthur. The market must then price its view on whether DAI's collateral can maintain a 1-to-1 USD peg, irrespective of the ETH USD exchange rate. During episodes when ETH USD tanked, the market does briefly trade DAI below $1. However, MakerDAO has made good on all DAI redemptions into ETH worth at least $1 for one DAI. And therefore, when DAI dips below $1, historically that has been a great buy. You can trade DAI, yeah, sometimes, but it's getting harder and harder, I believe, right, to pick up those bargains. This is all to say centralized platforms can switch to BTC DAI and ETH DAI or any other fully reserved crypto banking liability token to enable crypto to fiat trading in the absence of any physical backed fiat stablecoin. For DEXs, the conversion is even easier. Adding a BTC DAI and or ETH DAI liquidity pool has either already been done or just takes an enterprising user to create instantaneously, right? Even you can do this, right, on Uniswap. Create your own liquidity pool on a pair of crypto assets of your choice. Trading will go on. Whether or not Tether or any other physical backed fiat stablecoin has the assets they claim does not impact the viability of the crypto capital markets. That's important, right? If you believe it does, you don't understand the value proposition. Put another way, if the Bitcoin and the ETH ecosystem cannot function without a fiat stablecoin, then why are we even wasting our time holding, trading, and improving crypto protocols in the first place, right? We should all just go and buy an equity index comprised of commercial banks, right? We're trying to replace the banks. A few notes for the record. I believe that Tether can meet all redemptions into USD cash in an appropriate time window. I know too many large trading shops, and so this is inside info from Arthur, that create and redeem large amounts of USDT on a frequent basis, right? And when he talks about large amounts, I'm assuming millions and tens of millions, right? It might look sketchy that USDT is using a no-name bank to store cash, but why would a large commercial bank that has no need for additional USD deposits underwrite a protocol that aims to disintermediate its money transfer and FX trading businesses? Any large bank CEO that does that should get fired. Network power struggle. Okay, what is more powerful, a nation state or a social network? This is a very important question that many governments are grappling with. Everything is about growing users, right? Everything is about growing users. Yes, sir. Nation states have historically grown their users through two primary means: war and sex. In our modern enlightened global civilization, blatant territory grabs by hegemons are not viewed kindly and usually end in abject failure. It's hard to convert the hearts and minds of a conquered people without violence and or slavery. Both of these measures are viewed as uncouth today. The preferred method is having more babies. The global user bases of various governments has exploded as subjects had more kids, and those kids have survived, right? Social networks, on the other hand, typically grow their user bases by offering a service that users deem valuable. Usually, this is something that helps us better connect with our fellow Homo sapien, as this is the case with Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Instagram, TikTok, WeChat, QQ, etc. Here's a list of the social networks with over 1 billion users. Okay, this is huge numbers right here. Facebook, 2.8 billion people use Facebook. YouTube, 2.3 billion. WhatsApp, 2 billion. Facebook Messenger, 1.3. Instagram, 1.3. WeChat, 1.22. And look how much is owned by Facebook. WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram, Facebook itself, right? It's a monster of a company. There are only two nation states, China and India, that have over 1 billion users, right? It is quite obvious that Mark Zuckerberg, viewed purely on a numbers of users basis, is the most powerful person in the world. He does not control a nuclear arsenal nor any sort of military, but captures the attention of close to half the human population. He is so powerful that alongside other platforms such as Twitter, he effectively cancelled a sitting US president. It is true. Someone who does have a nuclear arsenal and military at his disposal. Someone who does have a nuclear arsenal and military at his disposal. We're talking about Trump here. Like, he's got all those fighter jets, he's got submarines, nuclear, ships, and standing army. But take away his Facebook account, and he is a limp president, right? Politics is all about messaging. You have to show and tell the people what to think and how to behave. Again, politics is all about messaging. You have to show and tell the people what to think and how to behave. That has been clear the last couple of years, right? Communication is the bedrock of any regime. If you cannot communicate with your subjects, irrespective of the political ism practice, your regime will not exist. Facebook, at least outside of China, controls the most effective and direct means of communication with the most economically active users globally. There's one network that is even more powerful than Facebook, and that is the US dollar. Wowzers. The US dollar is the reserve currency of the world, and most trade is still priced in dollars. Even if your current country has a different local domestic currency, any imports, this is key, usually touch the dollar in some way. The US dollar potentially has a user base of every human that consumes any sort of manufactured product. 7 billion people. The problem with the US dollar is its transmission network is upheld by a cartel of inefficient legacy financial institutions. But there is an opportunity for a tech-native network to usurp it. The biggest contender for a network that through its own or an affiliated value token could establish or replace the US dollar is, of course, Facebook. DM, Libra, or whatever Facebook ends up naming its value token will from day one have almost half the human population as potential users. Excuse me. Combine Facebook-enabled online shops, a network currency, and messaging, and you have a circular, sticky economy. At that point, there is no use for the US dollar. Facebook may decide its network token should be backed by the US dollar, but it isn't entirely necessary. This is why governments weren't pleased when Facebook announced the launch of Libra a few years back. When was that? 2019, I believe. Yep. Almost 2 years ago. Yeah, it's unclear what form the Facebook network token will take, but something will happen. And then Google and Amazon will respond. What will the US government do? The USG has all the natural advantage to modernize the US dollar and completely own the world, excluding China. But do they have the political will? I believe with Biden in office, his chief economist is anti-dollar. He doesn't want the dollar to be the reserve anymore. So look that guy up. Forget his name. This leads me to my next panel on the political decision of how to structure a central bank digital currency, CDBC, that represents the US dollar. Fedcoin. Imagination time. If I had a magic wand and a permanent throne at the Marina Eccles building, that's the Fed Reserve building in Washington, this is how I would design the digital dollar. Let's call it Fedcoin. Feature. Anyone globally with any valid government-issued ID can have a digital wallet hosted directly by the US Federal Reserve. Well, that's kind of cool, right? If you call that cool. This wallet can store and transfer Fedcoin tokens, which represent the liabilities of the Fed. It is free of charge to onboard with the Fed. All you need is the internet-enabled smartphone, and almost instantaneously instantaneously, the whole world can now have a bank account with the issue of the global reserve currency. Consequence, how does this play out, all deposits move from commercial banks to the Fed. The only way for a commercial bank to attract deposits is to pay a higher interest rate than the Fed in order to allow the commercial banks to continue to exist. The Fed could explicitly peg its deposit rate below the private market. I believe that's what it kind of does right now, right? Commercial banks could only offer higher deposit rates if they engaged in loans to productive businesses. Whoa, imagine if a real business could get a loan. Maybe there would be some actual economic growth. Yeah, imagine that. There will be no or underbanked persons with a smartphone. Everyone would have access to essentially free banking with a reputable. Sorry, screwed up the word. Reputable institution, right? Feature: there is a private blockchain that is interoperable with the major public blockchains such as Ethereum. It also has a permissionless open API to power all types of fintech applications. That means that Fed coins can be used natively in the DeFi ecosystem. You can stake and trade them with all the other DeFi tokens. Interesting. Consequence: all physically banked fiat stablecoins would vanish. Boom. There's no reason to use any other USD fiat stablecoin other than Fedcoin, which would naturally be the most secure. Feature: the Fed, and by extension the US government, has complete transparency into any and all transactions using Fedcoin. However, Fedcoin addresses are just numbers and characters. You are allowed to create as many public keys as you want, because the Fedcoin wallet is a hierarchically deterministic wallet, HD wallet. That's kind of been the standard on ETH, right? As a company, you may not want your competitors to be able to trace all your economic activity. As an individual, you wouldn't want just anyone to be able to see all your financial activity as well, right? Do you allow people to look into your bank account statements? Right? No, you don't. Consequence: compliance is done at the Fed level, removing that cost from the ecosystem, because all wallets are owned by real persons or businesses. There is no risk of obscuring who or what is transacting from the government. Individuals or businesses get privacy vis-a-vis other participants. This is just the same as the traditional banking system, but with Fedcoin, users don't have to pay higher fees to cover the bank's compliance costs. Yeah, that's kind of key, right? This is why banking jobs kind of got to go way of the dodo, right? All these compliance teams each bank has to employ, etc. Feature: if all the other major central banks architect a similar system to Fedcoin, then cross-border FX trading becomes instantaneous and nearly free. Wow. Automated market makers on a DEX could easily swap Fedcoin for ECB coin or any other fiat currency pairs. Businesses could reduce the cost of procuring goods and pass those savings on to their customers, or not, if they decide to cash in that extra profit. But eventually, competition will bring those prices down, right? At least that tax will not be captured by rent-seeking banks. Yeah, this is doomsday scenario for banks, isn't it? Consequence: global commercial banks' FX trading business would become obsolete. Is anyone sad about that? Question mark. Feature: the Fed would have a complete view on how value moves through the through the economy. Their theories about monetary velocity and how interest rate policy changes cascade through the system will become empirically testable, improving the quality of their policy making. Imagine if intentionally obtuse gobbledygook pseudoscience economic papers were replaced by A/B tested monetary experiments. Then you could elevate the study of economics to a type of science where results are the product of rigorous analysis. Wells only of the Hex community will be very happy about that, right? The Fed could also target specific constituencies directly with different credit opportunities, right? That's interesting as well. Any like state or city that's kind of falling by the wayside, the Fed could target it or see it and target it immediately, right? Lower the interest rate for Chicago if Chicago was doing poorly, right? Stuff like that. Consequence: instead of using the inequality machine called quantitative easing, aka money printing, in an attempt to move the economy to and fro, policymakers would finally have a empirically sound way to direct the flow of credit in the economy. Special interest groups could receive more accommodative monetary policy to help them improve their lot in the economy, rather than just politically connected zombie companies receiving all the manna from heaven. The average worker could get credit when they need it from the government they support with their tax dollars. This is revolutionary. We've kind of been poo-pooing central bank digital currencies, but what Arthur is showing as a possible scenario is all positive, right? So let's have a look. Doesn't this sound like a great future? Everyone gets a bank account for free. The technology allows for limitless innovation and commerce becomes faster and cheaper. Who loses aside from commercial banks? This is the political issue. The technology is there. The time is right for a purely electronic US dollar issued directly by the central bank. If something isn't launched soon, Facebook or another tech titan will capture all the users. The only thing stopping the Fed is the inherent conflict of interest between them and their commercial banks. The commercial banks are the shareholders of the Fed. That is the battle they have to internally face, right? They would be directly competing with and destroying their very banks they regulate. So maybe it won't be Fed coin, maybe will be a US Treasury coin, a digital coin directly from the government. That kind of seems unlikely because governments very rarely create value, but we shall see, right? I don't know the political outcome, but rest assured, if the Fed launches anything less than a permissionless direct-to-consumer electronic US dollar, they will get zucked. And Zuck doesn't zuck gently. Yes, no, he doesn't. He is a savage businessman, Mark Zuckerberg is, right? Yes. Yeah, that's some good stuff by Arthur, right? Yeah. Mainly positive. So deals with the FUD, deals with all what would happen if Tether goes poof, and also he talks about FedCoin, which is what people in the crypto sphere kind of worry about, right? But again, he is creating some or showing how this could be a huge transformation of economies. Reducing taxes, reducing special interests, improving, how the banks kind of control the money flow, right, and credit. So yeah, good stuff from Arthur, and I shall call this video now. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of it.